Hi everyone, this is Pastor Dan from Calvary Chapel in Cle Elum, Washington. I'd like to speak to you today about the ultimate questions of life. Along these lines, Chuck Colson relates this interesting story in his book, How Then Should We Live? He says in William Steig's Yellow and Pink, a delightfully whimsical picture book for children, two wooden figures wake up to find themselves lying on an old newspaper in the hot sun. One figure is painted yellow, the other pink. Suddenly, Yellow sits up and asks, "Do you know what we're doing here?" "No," replies Pink. "I don't even remember getting here." So begins a debate between the two marionettes over the origin of their existence. Pink surveys their well-formed features and concludes, "Someone must have made us." Yellow disagrees. "I say we're an accident," and he outlines a hypothetical scenario of how it might have happened. A branch might have fallen off a tree, fallen onto a sharp rock, splitting one end of the branch into two legs. Then the wind might have sent it tumbling down a hill until it was chipped and shaped. Perhaps a flash of lightning struck in such a way as to splinter the wood into arms and fingers. Eyes might have been formed by woodpeckers boring in the wood. With enough time, 1,000, 1,000,000, maybe 2.5 million years, lots of unusual things could happen, says Yellow. Why not us? The two figures argue back and forth. In the end, the discussion is cut off by the appearance of a man coming out of a nearby house. He strolls over to the marionettes, he picks them up, and he checks their paint. "Nice and dry," he comments, and tucking them under his arm, he heads back toward the house. Peering out from under the man's arm, Yellow whispers in Pink's ear, "Who is this guy?" Chuck Colson then says, "That is precisely the question each one of us must answer. And it's no storybook fantasy, it is deadly serious. Beyond the public debates and rhetoric, beyond the placard waving and politicizing, at the heart of every worldview are the intensely personal questions, who made me and why am I here? Pretty much everything around us reminds us that if something is made, it must have a maker. And if a maker made something, it must have a purpose. When I was writing this, I was sitting in a grocery store waiting, and as I sat there and looked around, I was noticing everything in the grocery store. I saw the tables and chairs around me and realized they all had a maker, and the maker had many purposes for them. I saw the napkin holders on the tables. I saw the linoleum squares on the floor. I saw the gondolas that were lined up row after row and loaded with all kinds of food items and merchandise, each with its unique packaging. Having been in the retail business, I realized that even the arrangement of the merchandise on the shelves and its set location in the store was no accident. Everything about the way that store was organized shouted out the truth that there was an organizer and a purpose behind the organization. Indeed, the building itself that housed the grocery store was one huge design with many, many, many specific purposes. Nothing about this building was there by accident. In fact, reason alone tells us that accidents only create injury, broken things, and chaos. Accidents in and of themselves don't create order. They create disorder. These things are self-evident for any reasonable person. So why would we think it any different when it comes to the universe, the solar system, and humanity? All of the universe is evidence of one big, intricate design. This isn't just some philosophical assumption either. The scientific method has demonstrated this over and over again. As science observes everything in nature, we are told it all operates according to certain laws of nature, and it all has a purpose. So is it such a stretch to assume that mankind has a maker, and that maker has designed mankind with a purpose? These are ultimate questions, because if we're just here by accident, then it's really every person for themselves. Every person decides what's good, what's right, what's wrong for themselves. Instead of God being at the center of the created universe, we are the center. As the existentialists would have it, there is no God, and as a result, there is no ultimate meaning. Therefore, we have to create our own meaning. We use practical standards and we figure out what is good for the greatest number of people, and especially what is good for us. Since there is no God, we become God in His place and make all our decisions accordingly. The question of whether God created the world or it all happened by some cosmic accident is really central to our understanding of life. It makes all the difference in the world to how we conduct our lives and how we treat others around Him. Because if God didn't create the world, and it all came about by chance, there is no ultimate meaning, no purpose, no direction to life. There are no absolute morals, only what the majority in power at the time deems is right and wrong. In fact, it's this very, very belief that enabled Hitler and Lenin and Stalin and Mao and dictator after dictator after dictator to commit the atrocities they all committed, murdering millions of people because they knew what was right, and if anybody disagreed with them, they should be eliminated. If God doesn't exist and didn't create, then we have no more idea how we got here or why we're here than the yellow and the pink marionettes. But if God indeed created the world, we understand clearly who we are, how we got here, and what the purpose of our lives is. We understand what we're supposed to do and how we're supposed to live. And what's more, we are accountable to this God. A few verses in Colossians 1 help to answer these ultimate questions for us. First of all, who made us? Speaking of Jesus, Colossians 1, 15-16 says, He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. For by Him all things were created that are in heaven, that are on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created through Him and for Him. So, Jesus is our Creator. Secondly, what is our purpose? Well, to put it in a nutshell, going back to verse 10 of Colossians 1, Paul says there that you may walk worthy of the Lord, fully pleasing Him, being fruitful in every good work and increasing in the knowledge of God. Everything else that God has purposed for us comes under this umbrella. We're told not only that God, through Jesus, created the world in the beginning, but in the end there's going to be a judgment where every person who has ever lived will stand before Him. We understand that we are moral beings, which means that we've been given free will and the ability to choose between right and wrong, good and evil. God has told us what is good, and so we're responsible to Him for choosing the good. Furthermore, if God created the world, He has the authority to call us to obedience. And so our ultimate aim in life ought to be finding out what God wants us to be and do, and then seeking to fulfill His purposes. We must seek to be mindful of the things of God as our first priority. Then and only then will we be able to answer these ultimate questions of who made me and why am I here. Then and only then will we be able to find and fulfill our ultimate purpose, and in doing so, achieve that satisfaction and that fulfillment that we all seek. Well, I hope this has been helpful to you. If it has, would you give it a like, comment, maybe share it on your own Facebook page, or just share it with a friend of yours so that they might be helped too. And if you're in the Cle Elum area and you don't have a home church, would you consider joining us on Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. at 417 East Railroad Street in Cle Elum, Washington? Again, this is Pastor Dan from Calvary Chapel, Cle Elum. May the Lord bless you as you seek Him.